Hey folks, Dr. Leah here. Thanks for watching my podcast, Vet It Out. For more content about everything animal, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to have the latest updates. Hey everyone, Dr. Leah here. Welcome back to another episode of Vet It Out. If you've been following along on social media recently, you might have seen that I rescued a barred owl. And since then, I have had multiple people contact me with birds that they've encountered that might need rescuing. So I want to start this off by saying the most important part of that barred owl rescue was I didn't keep it. I contacted this beautiful woman next to me. This is Angela Grano, a wildlife rehabilitator, and I brought her on the show because, hey, it's wild baby season. So welcome to the show, Angela.
Thank you, Dr. Leah. I am delighted to be here.
Now, we met years and years ago. I'm a hospice veterinarian, for those who don't know, and Angela was a client of mine. And as soon as we met, I immediately connected with her. Amazing person. I actually still have the piece of white sage upstairs. I don't know if you saw that in my window that you gave me.
I did not.
Yeah.
Yes, and I begged you to let me work with you because I'm like, I need to work with this woman somehow. But here we are.
Here we are. We finally made it happen.
And yeah, things flow exactly as they need to. And you ended up calling me on a rainy night with a barred owl that you had found in the middle of the road and did the beautifully wonderful thing that we're never going to advise anybody to do, but please do, is stop and put your hazards on and go out in the middle of traffic and stop traffic and save an animal. Yay. That's what we do.
Yeah, easier said than done. And what we want to do here today is arm people with the knowledge of what are you actually supposed to do when you encounter different species of wildlife. First and foremost, the point we've already made, and I just really want to drive it home, I am not a wildlife rehabilitator. You likely are not a wildlife rehabilitator. That means when you do encounter a wild animal, once it's safe and secure, the first thing you do.
Right, and how? Because that's often people do, by the time they get to me, they're usually very, very frustrated because they've called the DEEP, which is always closed from 4 o'clock on, or it's Friday night, which is,
very convenient.
Who do you call? So there are online, but if you're in the middle of a rescue, and sometimes you're in places with no internet, it's very hard to find phone numbers. So I recommend doing these things in advance. Have some phone numbers in your phone. Have some phone numbers like in your car. And the DEEP dispatch line, which they're probably going to kill me for giving out, but is 24/7. You can get a rehabber in your area at 860-424-3333. Now that's their dispatch line, and you say, I need a rehabber in my area for skunks. I need a rehabber in my area for migratory species, which are our apex predators, the hawks, the eagles, the owls. For squirrels and other mammals, you don't need quite a specialized permit, but I love having all these things at the ready. It's kind of like Girl Scouts. If you're going to make a fire, you got to have some sticks.
Yes. Yeah, and that's a really great point. When you decide to intervene when a wild animal is in distress, or any animal, even if it's a stray or domestic, you need to understand that you're committing your time and you should follow through with it because most people who are in wildlife rehabilitation are volunteers. So when I contacted you, you were on your way to your daughter's play, and I was like, oh my gosh, please help me.
Which was great.
And we ended up making it work, but you're the one who would pay for the food that we were getting for the owl.
Truth.
You're the one who would be paying for any bedding.
Yes.
You've got a pen and a kennel. You have all the supplies.
Yes.
But if that bird did require any medical treatment, and because we did decide to hang on to it for a couple of days, I stopped by Petco and loaded up on frozen mice and rats.
Yes, which are also great to have in your freezer.
Yeah, it wasn't your expense that should have been paid.
Well, thank you. But we do take on these expenses because that's kind of part of the game. Most people don't understand that rehabilitators are volunteers, so they get even doubly angry when they're like, well, aren't you going to drive an hour in the dark and come pick this
On
up
a
from
Sunday.
me? Right, or, so please be, patient with your rehabbers. They really all are maxed out, stressed out, especially right now, as you mentioned, is baby season.
Baby season.
And so because I've been doing this pretty much almost 30 years, I've learned a few things. And we can't expect people who aren't doing this to know the things that we've taken our time to learn. And, experience is a fabulous thing. And when you have a little of it under your belt, we're here to share some of that. And I developed a program called Wild Magic because so many people have these questions. And what I ended up doing, instead of taking live animals, which, there are some fabulous centers that are doing great live bird programs. But, these are the bigger centers, and Horizon Wings, a place called Hope, and they are doing the best work there is. But I'm a much smaller fry. So I still want to get the word out on what we all can do to help wildlife. So I created a program called Wild Magic, and I've been taking it into schools and libraries and private events, garden clubs, sitting here with you. Wherever you're willing to listen to me, I'm going to come.
Yes.
And I bring puppets.
We love educating
I bring
people.
puppets, and the kids go nuts for the puppets.
My dogs went nuts, and as soon as Angela walked in the door,
Yes, they thought they
my golden retriever snagged the bald
over that.
eagle. Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
But I don't know a single bird that loves to be, brought into a crowded situation. And, birds are very visual, so it's stressful for them. So I decided to share stories, and I've created these blow-up canvas prints, which are as light as the bones of a bird are hollow. So my canvas prints are light, the puppets are light, the kids get just as much excitement and interaction. And, young and old, I open the floor to questions, but I also arm everyone with 10 to 12 things we all can do to make a change and improve the lives of wildlife. Because yes, until you can find a rehabber or a qualified veterinarian, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And yeah.
And so because I am a veterinarian and it was turtle season, so naturally I had a pair of gauntlet gloves. Those are those leather gloves that come up to here that are really thick. I usually use those for spicy kitties in my vet work.
Not to be confused with udder gloves.
Yes.
For a cow. Not to be confused with those.
Yeah, and they weren't plastic and thin. They were padded for nails and sharp teeth. But I had them at the ready in my vehicle because it's turtle season, obviously. And whenever I see a snapping turtle on the road, I got those gloves ready to go so I can move the little cranky thing out of the road without compromising one of my own
let's
fingers.
Start with that because you raised such a great point about these turtles in the road, and I'm learning so much about this too because turtles are kind of new to me because I've always been drawn to the bird world. But when you see a snapping turtle crossing the road and it's going so slow, please understand that is an ancient creature. For the lineage of these animals goes before the dinosaurs. They're older than dinosaurs, so they will continue to return to the same sites where they have nested and laid their eggs for millennia.
Yeah,
so
like spawning salmon.
Thank you. So if you try to take that turtle and turn it around where it was coming from, you've just
go right across the road again.
created a death sentence for that animal. So if you want to help a turtle in the road, put yourself safe off to the side, put your hazards on, look both ways. People drive crazy. Even I work animal control, I'll have my lights on. They still will cruise around me and squash the animal. So be
People
careful.
are so impatient. So the direction it's going.
The direction it's going. And if it's a snapper, you want to hold that snapper from the side and don't bend your face down because a snapper's neck can go out a whole foot.
Phenomenal
So
reach.
They can't go to the side though, but if you hold them from the side, never the tail and not the front and the back, the sides. And then just get her to where she's going and she will lay her eggs and move on.
They'll usually hiss and get annoyed at you.
They might pee on you, but
yeah, I'm sure there were some swear words on the last snapper I saved. I'm so ungrateful. But, this is one of those things where because I have some training and experience, I was prepared to intervene. It was really disappointing, though, because when I saw this owl, it was rush hour, so like 5 o'clock at night, and it was raining. That owl, it must have gotten its wing twisted right in front of me because over 24 people flew by this thing as it was flapping around the yellow line. And when I saw it and stopped, I actually had to step out and stop traffic. People were in such a rush. Nobody cared. The bird was big enough that people just, they stopped. They didn't want to help.
Yeah, and I even questioned if they saw it. I think we're in a society where we're just so distracted all the time, and I think we're so self-absorbed. And I think, hey, this is the one thing I tell the kids: if you really want to care about animals, here's the one thing you should learn to do: learn to listen to them, because part of my program discusses the tenets of the magical laws of contagion and similarity. And when we do yoga poses, we're doing the law of similarity. And when you touch that owl will forever be changed by you, and you are forever changed by that owl. That's the law of contagion. So I try to inspire the kids, but you'd be shocked how many adults have no connection whatsoever to the wild. They don't even go stand in their yard. So I'd love to go through a couple of the things I'm asking us all to learn, and I didn't bring my list, but it's
you know your stuff.
Learn to listen. Let's talk about if you find a baby bird. This is a big one.
Yes.
I found a baby bird.
What's the old wives' tale that everybody hears?
That you cannot that you can't put that bird back in the nest, right?
Yes.
So it is I hate to say an old wives' tale, because I mean there might be a few old husbands in it too, but birds do not have a sense of smell.
Yes.
They don't. It's been scientifically proven. There are two species that do, and of course the buzzards, the vultures, they find dead carrion. They do have a sense of smell, and there is like one species of owl in South America that hunts similarly by its scent. But most birds are extremely visual, and believe it or not, owls hunt with their ears, not their eyes.
I don't have an indoor voice sometimes. Your voice is better suited for owls.
Please, I'm sure they're happy to hear you coming. So, oh, and I have a story about the owl too. That somebody brought me an owl. I'll tell you that story in a second. But it was really cool. Owls are so mystical, and there's so much ancient lore and tradition around all these animals, because Native Americans and Native people knew to do the very first advice I gave you, which is watch, learn, and listen. Because if you watch them, you're learning. I believe we learned. We know that ravens were the first to create casts. I believe half our surgeries we learned from watching birds. Ravens will put a mud pack on a wounded raven partner, feed that animal for 2 weeks, and then crack that cast off, and the bird is fed. That's been documented. I believe we know how to fly helicopters by watching dragonflies. But let me get back to the bird falling out of a nest.
Yes.
First thing, is it cold? Is it cold? Put that bird in your hands, okay? Warm it up. Can't put a cold bird back in a nest. Particularly if it has 0 feathers, you know it's probably cold. So warm it gently. Inspect and see if it is bleeding. If it's bleeding, it does not go back in the nest. You've got to get a rehabber. If that is the case, get yourself, let people get you a TV-size box for a bird this tiny. Think about how birds are in a nest. They're all crowded together.
A Tupperware container is perfect.
Little Tupperware bowl or a tissue box. Stuff it, everything with tissues, and you sit that bird like a jewel in the middle of it, so it supports their neck, because their necks are just like babies. They're flopping all over the place. If it is uninjured, now most people don't understand how freaky their legs look, and everyone says, "Oh, their legs are broken."
No.
You
A lot of joints.
Yeah, they're alien-looking species when they're naked. But most likely, if you don't see blood and it's not a splayed out to the side, it's most likely okay. You can look up. Robins tend to be under eaves. In thickets and brush, you can usually find if you see similar babies and that's that baby's nest, I can guarantee you those parents are watching your every move. Just pop that baby back in the nest once it's warm. You're not going to get a disease. You can wash your hands with soap.
You won't scare mom and dad off forever.
And mom and dad will come back. If you can't reach the nest, and I've tried this and done this multiple times, you can get a basket, and get that bird as close to the nest as you can. Not a massive basket. Think about the nest it's coming from. And never put a towel in that basket, because if it rains, you've just now drowned that bird.
Yes.
It must be a basket that has mesh and holes at the bottom so water can go through, but not a towel so it's sitting in a cold towel at night. Brush, dry brush, shavings possibly. And it's tough, though, because it can't just be dangling from an end of a branch. It can't be in the crook of a tree, because any raccoon can get it. I've kind of used duct tape. Duct tape can be your friend, and you duct tape it really solid to the center of a branch and the parents will return as well. Those are some options. Let's talk about fishing.
Just to follow up on that. So when in doubt, somebody finds a bird on the ground. If they don't know how to do anything else, the most important take-home point is try to return it to the nest, usually.
If it's uninjured, exactly,
Yes.
and warm back in your hands.
Yeah. Or if you're not going to deal with it,
then keep it in a safe, quiet box. Don't play with it. Don't shoot yourself with it on Instagram. Don't let your kids, show and tell in a circle, especially baby bunnies. These are baby animals most likely, and let's just say this: to wildlife, you staring into their eyes, you're a predator to them.
Yeah, it's very intimidating.
It's very, very stressful.
Stressing.
So please understand that a quiet box with a couple of holes poked in it, not while it's in the box, poke the holes before you put it in the box, is the best thing for that animal. Keep it quiet. Keep it without all this commotion around it and visual commotion. Just keep it calm and quiet until you can get some help.
And what people don't realize is the amount of pressure that you apply especially to a bird, damages what muscle tissue they do have. And it's shocking how little pressure it takes to do a lot of damage.
Right.
And so again, Angela mentioned, doing social media posts, letting kids hold animals. Minimal handling is what's best for that animal, whether it's a bird or a mammal.
Right. And it took me a long time to get this out of my thick skull that, you think it's thirsty, so the first thing you want to do, and especially when you're Italian, you want to feed everything. Don't leave the
food.
meatballs at home. Don't put water down their throat. Now, What I have done, and I'm afraid I'm even going to say this out loud, but if it's absolutely dehydrated and you're waiting and waiting and waiting for a Rehabber, I have dipped a paper towel in a little bit of water and let a drop come to the end of the beak, never into the mouth, never for a squirrel as well, even if it's a little drop on just their lips. But forget I even said that, okay? Just leave it. Don't
Better
water,
off to just
no
not
food,
do anything.
no water,
Yeah.
because it's our impetus to want to think. We think by feeding it we're helping it, and sometimes that actually makes it worse. If an animal is cold or compromised by in their organs, feeding it can actually kill it. All right, so I'd love to segue into I think what's number 3 or 4 on my list that the average person can do we all can do, even if you don't have a rehabber's license or a vet degree, is be cognizant and be mindful when you go fishing. Can't tell you how many
Fishing line and lures.
fishing line gets trapped and wrapped around geese legs, geese beaks, about birds that get stuck with this around their wings and then are immobilized and flying. And, the catch and release thing with fish. I had an eagle that had 8 fishing hooks in its abdomen and it had to be euthanized. So the number one food source for eagles are fish. Right.
And we leave them
And
with hooks in
osprey,
them.
And we leave them with hooks. So you think of very benign, I've released the fish. Well, if you don't take that hook out, guess what? You just hooked yourself an eagle or an osprey or an otter.
Yeah. The first wild bird that I had to work with when I graduated veterinary school and was back here practicing was a seagull who swallowed a lure that had the treble hook on it.
Yeah.
And then somebody tried to pull it out and the hooks were actually coming through the skin on its throat. And so I showed up to euthanize it because if you can catch a seagull, that's
that
not
the
very
story
good.
You shared right before pizza? That was great.
No, that was a different one.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the one on Martha's Vineyard.
It's really fun
We
having
won't
dinner
talk
with
about
Leah.
that one. I mean, us medical people.
So there's one rule, and it's one of the hardest laws to ever live by, and it's the only law I try to live by, is do as you will and harm none.
Yeah.
Because if you can go fishing and not leave behind harm, it's like you walk into a beautiful park. What right do we have to throw our red Solo cups on the ground and leave our water bottles and our fish hooks? Like, walk out with what you came in with, and even better, maybe take something with you. Because if you see line or hooks, grab it, because you just probably saved a life that day.
Yeah.
I've got my number one and most important thing that we all can do, and you don't need a license for this, and this is probably, we're at an actual crisis tipping point in the state of Connecticut and beyond, I'd say nationally, which is rodenticides.
Yeah, some towns are banning them now.
Newtown
Newtown,
set the
was
bar.
it Southbury, Southington? Southbury?
Southbury.
Yep.
And I am applauding them, and I will have you know that it took me a little bit, but I have removed all pesticides and rodenticides at the Avon Animal Control.
Yeah.
Because I can't be entrusted with saving animals and poison them.
Yeah.
There is nothing worse than seeing one of the most majestic, beautiful birds in the sky all of a sudden drop at your feet, bleeding from the eyes and the trachea. And that is clear, absolute evidence of rodenticides. And let's understand why it's called second generation. Because it not only kills the parents, but it goes and transfers into the oncoming offspring that drank the milk from that parent. And then you're killing multiple generations of mice now are now lethally poisoning their best. We've got rodent birth control. We've got rodent. I use that at the dog pound, but we have rodent control right here.
Yeah.
Our beautiful owls and hawks and fox and coyote and that's our rodent control right there. So the irony is you're killing off the very things that we need to keep them under control.
Same thing with snakes. People hate snakes and they see them in their house and they kill them. And it's like, well, that was eating the things that you don't want in the house as well. But, the problem is nobody wants to live with mice, and rats are especially challenging to deal with. But we don't really think about these unintended consequences. Like, okay, well, I think bleeding out to death internally is a pretty horrible way to die.
Right.
If I were a mouse or a rat that was going to be executed, I think I would rather want it to be done very quickly and humanely.
And, yes.
And there are other methods. And, unfortunately, it's kind of easy to have bait stations.
And what are those other methods? Because I get asked that.
So I love the bucket trick. So you can get a 5-gallon pail, and then you do like a little piece of wood, a pathway up to it, and then there's a dowel with a coffee can on it, and you slather the coffee can with peanut butter, and so they run out on it, and then it spins and then drops them into the bucket. Some people are a little bit more brutal, and they put a few inches of water in the bottom of the bucket, so eventually that mouse drowns. Or you just got a whole bunch of them in the bucket, and you go drive far away and dump them in a field. I mean, That's what
As
some
long
people
as you
do.
keep up on that and don't go on vacation.
Correct. Yeah, it's snap traps. That's what a lot of people generally use.
And you know, there's Cambridge, Massachusetts, is using a company called Good Works is utilizing rodent birth control, and contraceptorol is what I'm using at the dog pound. You do have to feed it to them, so you're actually mixing it with like dog kibble or something. You know,
So you have to bait them.
Yeah, so
with birth
and
control.
they're eating it. And to be honest, for an entire year, it was the most productive thing we'd utilized at the dog pound, and it really, really worked. And then we got so good at containing our dog food that I stopped feeding them. That was my mistake. You actually still have to feed them a little bit, but a little goes a long way. Like a tablespoon fills a massive bowl. It lasts a whole week. So there are and then of course your peppermint. A mouse can fit through a hole this tiny, so you're stuffing it with
amazing.
steel wool. Keep your food sources away. Same goes for bears. What are we going to do about all our bears? Well, guess what? We're the problem. We're
invading in their environment and encroaching upon it.
Thank you. And then you literally see people feeding these adorable cubs donuts or hot dogs, and a 40-pound bear is going to come back as a 400-pound bear.
Yeah.
A bear will never forget a food source. So we've got to get our bear locks on our dumpsters. I'm proposing the state of Connecticut get a grant, especially in Avon, which is Bear Central, where I work. I think it'd be a great first start, because I think all these restaurants leave their bins wide open and then complain, why are there bears in my backyard?
If there's food, they will come. One of the funniest memes I think I saw about bears in national parks was a post from a ranger who said, you know, they tell everybody, like, you got to have your food tied up. It's got to be hanging. Don't leave it in your tent. Don't leave it unattended. Like, you can lead a horse to water type of education. And then this meme said, unfortunately, there's considerable overlap between our smartest bears and our least intelligent humans. and
The cross-sectional.
and it was like, we told them, we trained them. And so, I mean, we see people want to feed animals and they think it's adorable. But as you do that, they go and they tell all their friends. And as you pointed out, they get bigger. And they can get more aggressive about trying to find a food source. And then wild animals also can bring in things like fleas and ticks.
Right. And you know, I will say the black bear is a very gentle animal. Like, I came home with a pizza. It was pitch black in my driveway, and I thought it was one of my cats in the bush that had escaped through the dog door. And I'm holding the pizza. I'm like, come here, Max, come here. And I hear, and I just kept going backwards with my pizza. And I would have dropped that. You know, I might have fought a bear for my pizza, but I just backed up, didn't mess with me. The bear, by nature, is a very gentle creature. And I will tell you, I'm learning a lot from the foremost bear expert for New England, the only one who does rehabilitate orphan cubs. His name is Dr. Ben Killam, Kilham. He has some books that I'm reading that I love. He has a website, killambearcenter.org or com, forgive me. Amazing resource, amazing tips. His life story is so profound, but he has learned in his trials and in his raising of the bear that they are not solitary creatures.
No, they're family units.
They have social hierarchies and structures, and to bring a hunting law into Connecticut, which they keep trying to do, you will never solve the problem, because you're just going to go out in the woods and shoot the bears that aren't in our dumpsters, causing the issues that people are afraid of. Right? He seconds that.
So speaking of bears, you scratched the top of your head. My first encounter with a bear, I have to agree with you that they generally are pretty docile and more terrified of us and our animals than anything. But when I was had to have been like 5th grade, I was having a pool party and I had a whole bunch of girls over. And my dad was up working on the side of the house. And I walked around to go and get a towel, and I'm staring at a bear. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I ran back to the pool. I'm like, there was a bear. And my dad said he just heard a pack of screeching girls like just migrate around like from the pool and like head down. They just heard the screeching, the girls, and he comes in and he's like, what was going on? I was like, there was a bear. And he was like, that poor thing. And it was terrified. It took off. A pack of screaming 12-year-old girls it was absolutely losing its mind, and probably never stepped foot on the property again after that horror.
That's hysterical. That is hysterical.
First bear experience.
I have a bear story too. I'm just so enamored with them, and their energy is so profound. But I was coming over Avon Mountain. It was rush hour. You know how fast everyone's going. And I see what looks like a tarp rolling. And it was just about sunset, and the sun had just gone down. It was now dark. And I in the middle of Avon Mountain, they have these weird little patches of cobblestone, and I realized that wasn't a tarp, it was a bear that had been hit, and she was rolling, and she had landed across into my lane. I pull over magically, just like you, don't even think. I got out, and I stopped all the traffic, and it was almost like slow motion. They say in moments of fear, things slow down.
Yeah.
And so I must have been terrified because everything was slow motion, but it was like, it wasn't me doing this. Everyone had stopped. No one honked a horn, and the bear had wounded her shoulder, and she was on her shoulder. And this is this is one of the stories I share in my program. This example of the law of contagion, because at the time I was learning how to train horses, so I started doing the horse training mechanisms, like, come on, and I was sending my mental energy to this bear, like, you've got to get up, because I know that if you don't get up, your only alternative is to be shot and carried off this highway. And so everyone's at a standstill. Come on, come on, come on, you can do this. And in slow motion, she pulls her arm out from under her. And in my mind, I'm praying to her, like, get yourself off, mother, get yourself off this road. And she goes off to the side, and she sat down like Winnie the Pooh, like she was very tired. The officer showed, where's that bear? Where's that bear? I don't know where that bear is, honestly. I just don't know where that bear is. And then I look up, and she's gone off the embankment. Bears have been known to extract bullets from their muscles. The bear has an innate, we don't even know the magic of animals, which is why I call my program Wild Magic. Because when we start to know, we might connect to something inside of us that we didn't even know existed. So,
well, I mean, there's something so important to be said about our energy and communication. So people who are animal communicators, I've done some research on this because I have a photographic memory, and people are usually really impressed that I practice alone. I'm really good at reading an animal when I can inject them safely, when I'm able to inject them without having a technician or anybody with me. I make a point to lower my energy and be calm.
yes.
And try to communicate with them
Very
via
important.
pictures in my mind. And I've walked into so many homes where I was forewarned a dog would be protective, really hated going to the vet, cats that are practically feral. And I'm trying to non-verbally communicate that I'm there to help, and they know.
Yes.
It really, your energy matters. Your intention
1,000%.
matters.
1,000%.
When you're working with animals, they feel it, they sense it. It's the same energy that when people say, my dog gets in the car every day with me, but the day I'm going to take him to the vet, they don't get in.
Yeah.
And they're like, why? How do they know? And I'm like, you are signaling stress to them because
Exactly.
you feel like a jerk because
Exactly.
you're about to take your best friend to go get poked and
Exactly.
prodded. And most animals don't like going to the vet unless you've got, lots of cookies and loving staff, which a lot of dogs do experience that. But
Exactly. And this is why I think I was so enamored with you, because I'll never forget the story you told me, which led me to your home euthanasia practice, which was, well, how would you call it? Not a home euthanasia practice, but a home goodbye practice.
home hospice.
Home hospice. That you told me when you were in a vet's office and a man had brought his lab in to be euthanized, and it was about 8 a.m, and you came at the end of the day at 5:30 at night, and that man was still sitting in the parking lot. Mm-hmm. And that led you to an understanding that, people as well need to be matched where they need to be matched. And I think my hat's off to you, Dr. Leah, for that, because All right, so what else can we talk about? We can talk about so we covered rodenticides.
Yep. Oh. You first.
Well, I want to just circle back to the bear situation, because it also ties into raccoons. I've got raccoons in my house and I want them out, and if you call the DEP, just understand, or you call a nuisance wildlife removal company, they are beholden by law to shoot those animals. You're not allowed to legally remove a mother raccoon. So you are now going to orphan those babies, and you're going to kill an innocent animal. So I want everyone to know this is an amazing resource, and it is humanesociety.org/whatever animal you need help with. They lay it out for you how you can safely extract these animals without having to hurt them or harm them. And also CWRA, which is the Connecticut Wildlife Rehabilitator Association. They have an online presence with fabulous advice. But ammonia-soaked rags, trays of ammonia, and transistor radios are your friends, because bears don't like them, raccoons don't like them. So if you got skunks and things under your shed that you want gone in a safe way, those are your friends. Now, some say ammonia can be harmful to wildlife, so what you can do is put trays of it inside your shed, so it's not seeping into your
Yeah, and your groundwater.
groundwater, etc. And the other animals might drink it by mistake. I don't think any animal would be dumb enough to do that because it's so caustic.
Pretty offensive.
But it has to be industrial strength. We're not talking pine saw. You're going to a hardware store and you're getting industrial strength ammonia.
Yeah.
I like a
Just
transistor
burn your
radio
nostrils,
on a,
and then you know you
on
got
a
the stuff.
battery, exactly, because I don't like the plugs. So battery operated transistor radio, and if it's a mother bear with babies, she'll be moving on. A mother stays with her female. She stays with her babies for 18 months. And then the males are kicked out very violently, quite like the mother will chase those boys up the tree. You know, you've been through that, right, cameraman? And sorry, tourist got his mom's still chasing him up a tree. And they stay with the females for extended periods of time and develop hunting grounds together. Foresting grounds more than anything, like where's the best berry patches, and those females protect those resources. So please just, the more you educate yourself, the better you're going to be able to handle any situation that comes your way.
So we're talking about raccoons now. We kind of transition, which brings up my next important point. Raccoons, skunks, rabies vectors, which means if you find one and it's acting at all weird, or even if it isn't, you have to approach it like it could potentially be exposing you to a 100% fatal disease. And so this kind of goes along with if people are, you're the kind-hearted, you love wildlife, you're really into it, you've had this experience and it's moved you, be prepared. If you're going to get yourself involved with stuff like this, I mean, there are a lot of people who, are you vaccinated for rabies?
I am. I finally bit
I
that
am
bullet.
too. Because of the high risk of exposure that we have.
Exactly, and also because I want to be able to pick up raccoons.
Correct.
So I just transported one this morning.
You sent me the cutest picture yesterday of the little baby raccoon, but brings up another point. Even though you're a wildlife rehabilitator, you don't have the special licensing to rehabilitate a rabies vector, correct?
And let me tell you, if anyone is interested and loves these animals, please come to the field and join.
We need help.
us.
We need rehabbers.
We have lost, in particular, rabies vector species rehabbers because it's very hard to, it's a bit more involved because your cage
Containment.
space, you have to have a cage within a cage. And I have too many dogs and too many cats to be able to separate them from
Me too.
from my actual life. But my hat's off to the rabies vector species because that also includes fox. So these are very sacred creatures. A raccoon is one of the most intelligent animals. They wash, here's a cool little thing. People think they're washing their food. This has been scientifically proven. It's not that they're washing their food. They're activating. They taste through their hands. Hello, if I could taste through my hands.
That'd be amazing.
I mean, maybe this is why Italians always talk with their hands, because in a way we're tasting with our hands, but wild magic yet again. But raccoons are so special, but we only really have about 3 in the state, and we need triple that.
Yeah.
Raccoons babies stay with their parents to 6 to 9 months of age. So you get a baby raccoon, you're overwintering it.
Yeah.
That you're not releasing a baby raccoon in the winter. That you're going to stay with that baby till next spring at this point. So understand, always leave a donation if you're dropping off a baby raccoon to somebody, because any
animal, really. If you're taking the time,
if you can, and more importantly, take the time.
Yeah.
I'd rather you take the time and not feel you had to pay for it, because you know what I find: the more you give, the more you get. And I run the Avon Pet Pantry. If you're in need of food, come find me. We're open the first Tuesday of the month from 10 to 12, because after COVID, our mission is to keep pets out of the shelters and in their homes. I'd rather you come help and we help you with some food and you keep that animal than it go into a shelter. So please know that there are resources, even though it might feel like more and more those resources are shutting down. There are places for help.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, what else are we thinking of when we're talking about animals that people love to rescue? Oh, possums.
Rabbits. Okay.
Possums and rabbits. But I thought start with rabbits because that seems to be something that finds
one.
its way in people's yards, and you let your dog out and then your dog finds a nest and then there's a baby massacre.
And this is one
Or
animal
mom and
that
dad get
really
killed.
will die from stress. And just because the mother's gone. So here's our little trick. You stumble upon a nest of baby bunnies. There's no mother there, and your first thought is, oh, they're orphaned. We've got to take them in. Do not touch baby rabbits. Unless it's been injured by your dog, you touch that rabbit, this is the one animal that you can't put back in a nest.
Yeah.
Once it's been touched by human hands, and even your latex.
The old wives' tale is true for rabbits.
This is the new money wives' tale. So you're going to leave that nest alone. Mother rabbits only feed their babies at dawn and dusk. She waits for everything to be quiet.
Yeah.
So you take 2 pieces of string. not like dental floss size, but like, crochet string. You make an X over that nest and leave them be. If you come back in the morning and that X is disturbed, the mother came and fed those babies. It's tempting to want to know if those babies are cold. If they look like they're babies are going to look like this. So when in doubt, get a rehabber's opinion. Yeah. Okay, you could always send
Take
a little
photos.
video clip and get on the DEEP website or call a rehabber and just get some advice. One thing we do have in Connecticut are really good quality bunny rehabbers. Those are on the list. But that's my advice. The X marks the spot, okay? If it's injured, if it's in your dog's mouth, absolutely needs a vet or a rehabber, okay? That's bar none. Some nature centers take rabbits, Roaring Brook, but they tend to get full really quick.
Yeah.
Now, you wanted to talk about opossums.
Yes, because when I got that barred owl, you had seen an opossum that was dead on the side of the road and harvested some pinky babies from it.
Yes.
So they're marsupials. So there was a pouch full of babies, right?
Yes. And unfortunately, when they're hairless and their eyes are closed, there's no saving. I tried feeding them with a paintbrush dipped in milk. Opossums' nipples go deep, like
They're
actually
very long.
Insert into the abdomen.
Yeah.
And
So you
it's
can't just grab the babies and pull them out of the pouch either. You might damage them if they're latched, right? I think I'd heard that.
Right. You want to go real slow because you don't want to rip their abdomens apart. But the truth is, they are feeding almost 24/7. So to save them at that age is fairly impossible. If they're furred, they've got a chance. They've got a chance.
Yeah. If they're naked,
so
not so much.
if you come upon, I think it's a good point you're raising. If you come upon a dead or injured mother, she very well might have babies in that pouch, and they're usually very much alive. Even though I feel like the opossum mother gives her last drop of milk to save those babies because she carries them on her back. The standard rule is if you see a baby opossum, if it's not 7 inches, I think it's nose to, not the end of the tail, but nose to the beginning of the tail, it's too young. Often they fall off their mothers, and the mothers keep moving on.
Yeah, because I've seen them. It's like they're dragging the kids to school, and like you've seen moms that are like there's 7 babies latched onto them. Like, oh, those poor women.
So get an opossum. Again, these CWRA, the HumaneSociety.org, great advice. But typically, mothers will eventually realize maybe a baby's missing when they hear that baby crying for them or smell that baby. But typically the rule is if they're under 6 to 7 inches, they usually need a rehabber if they're on their own, okay?
And so talking about baby opossums, this is actually one of my first experiences with the world of wildlife rehabilitation. I had a client who had a very kind heart and was always trying to rescue and save things, but wasn't turning them over to somebody who was appropriately trained. This woman did have a couple of baby opossums that she tried to save. One of them made it. Ended up keeping it and then posting about it on social media. And sure enough, somebody reported her, and the DEP showed up very aggressively, very early in the morning, demanding all of her animals, or they were going to take her children because, as much as she is a wonderful person and her heart was in the right place, keeping wild animals is illegal in the state of Connecticut. And every state has different rules about what you're allowed to have and what you can't.
Right.
But what ended up happening is they did radiographs of this opossum as it was a little bit taller or was more full grown, and they discovered that it had nutritional bone dysplasia. So its bones were soft and bent and crooked because it wasn't fed a proper diet during its vital growth period.
Thank you. And that's why these laws are in place.
Yeah.
Because most people don't know the proper foods. I mean, I've come upon people feeding puppies chocolate chips Ahoy and hash browns. So in our we
Chips Ahoy.
Yes. Animals are not people, okay?
No.
And we shouldn't even be feeding our kids this stuff. But the last thing you want to do is feed wildlife these things.
Yeah.
Let wild be wild, okay?
Yeah.
That's the really most important thing we can do is just respect wild as wild. And no mo may. Why? Why is no mo may so popular? It's not because we want to, be tree huggers, although I do love to hug trees. The truth is, there are species of fireflies and the most beautiful monarch butterflies, et cetera, et cetera. Monarchs migrate, but there are multiple beautiful butterflies that are in that leaf brush. We lose 40% of our very important insect population, which not only are beautiful, but feed the birds.
Yes, it's a circle of life, part of that ecosystem.
40%
Twist my arm to
thrown in
not
the
mow my
garbage.
lawn in the month of May. Twist my arm to never mow my lawn. I'll be thrilled. I hate yard work.
So these are the
Ain't
these are the
nobody
little
got
things
time.
we all participate in. It's we don't have to compete with the Joneses anymore. It's
No.
time to be like the Barkers. I mean,
Yeah.
let's just set a new standard of
Let your weeds grow.
Thank
Forget
you.
Roundup.
And they're beautiful. Our natural grasses are disappearing. There's an entire, like Washington, D.C. has an entire program of people going through the ranch lands to try to bring back the natural grasses. Even our natural native grasses are disappearing, and we have hundreds of varieties. Granted, in Connecticut, it's becoming more and more suburbia, but the suburbs are overtaking, and this is why we're seeing such an influx of, why are the bear all of a sudden appearing? No,
We're
it's
increasing
not that the bear are
encounters.
appearing. We're taking away their dens and their
encroaching.
habitats. We're encroaching. We're the encroachers,
And
not
we're
them.
getting them used to being around us. And so that was when I went to veterinary school in Fort Collins, Colorado. And I remember when I moved there are city fox. And these things they're usually stealing people's house cats, unfortunately. But they're everywhere.
And that leads us to another great one.
Yeah. So I remember one morning I woke up and it was after a wild Saturday night. And I heard what I thought was a woman dying right outside my house. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I go outside and I look and there are two fox face to face, and one of them's on the ground screaming bloody murder into the other one's face.
That's probably
Mating.
the flirting, the mating.
It was a
exactly.
mating call.
That was courtship.
But it sounded like a woman dying, like somebody was being raped and murdered in the street. And we ran outside and we look, and it was like nose-to-nose. And she just looked so
It's so
unimpressed
crazy.
by him. She was like,
Yeah.
as he screamed in her
there.
face. But it was 6:00 on a Sunday morning, and like some of the neighbors came up, like, "What the heck is that?" And
Right.
I was chilling out in my driveway. I also had neighbors on that block who got a corgi puppy. And one day I was late for vet school, and I'm driving down the road, and I see what I thought was the corgi puppy on the side of the road, and I had pulled over and jumped out to go get it, and it turns around and looks at me, and it's a fox that lost its tail. And I was like,
Oh, I thought you were going to say the corgi was in the mouth. Okay.
no. I
right.
thought it was the corgi loose, but it was a tailless fox.
Wow.
And he turned around, he's like, "Lady, leave me alone." I was like, "Excuse me, sir. I apologize. I thought you were a dog."
Seen some stuff. Corgi and the fox. The corgi and the fox. That sounds like a cool drink. I'll have the corgi and the fox. That brings me to another very important point on my 10 things we all can do to make a difference for the wild, and that is our pets. Letting our cats outdoors. Now, I understand because I have cats that I have a cat that will tear through every screen and has broken every screen in the house to be outside.
I have couch potatoes, thankfully. They don't do outdoors. They have no outdoor survival skills.
So I do understand people who tell me I cannot keep my cat indoors.
Yeah, I've met
But
them.
I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to say at least what you can do to hedge that a little bit. So our well-fed and wonderfully fat domestic cats are responsible for 1 billion, with a B, billion, deaths a year of wildlife. Okay?
Birds and small mammals.
And it's in the billions nationwide.
Yeah. To the point where some species have been extinct or are endangered now.
In fact, 40% of Connecticut bird species are gone for that very reason, because of our domestic cats, okay? So please, it's very simple. Keep your cat indoors.
Yeah.
And if you can't build a catio, then at least get a breakaway collar with not one but 2 bells. Little bells, they sell them in little 2-packs and I don't ever like to go to Petco, but you can buy them at Walmart or whatever. But those bells give a warning to the parents, at least. It's not going to save a nest of babies. It's not going to save a baby bunny, but it will save the mother.
Yeah.
And it will save the father, so they can at least move on to breed. But do your best to keep them inside and get your cat's enrichment. You can grow catnip inside. There are things you can do to enrich their lives. It's insidious because they do just genuinely hunt for pleasure. They're not hunting to eat these animals. Yeah. And, it's unfair to the cat. Well, guess what? Do you like wildlife? Do you love the wild native species in your life? We are at the overpopulation point, which is why the spay-neuter program of Connecticut is being so promoted in every animal control officer's office, because we're at the tipping point.
Yes, we're in trouble. And, as a veterinarian, a lot of people ask me when they're getting kittens what my thoughts are about whether or not they should be indoor, outdoor, or a combination. And my advice always is, if they don't know about it, they're not going to want it. And so people are so desperate to have these photograph, like let's put it on social media moments that they bring their cats outside, expose them to the great outdoors, and it's fascinating. They're animals who are very stimulated by their senses. They're hunters. They're really great at it. And so if you get an animal and you never let it outside, they often don't know what they're missing out on. So don't take your animals. If you get a kitten, get it inside, play with it.
Right.
That's the other thing. People get cats and they're like, oh, do your thing. They're social creatures. You should be interacting with them. You should be exercising. You should teach them on what they're supposed to be scratching and what they're not.
Thank you.
And if they do get outside, I like recall. All my cats will come a-running when I shake a jar of treats. And so if people are going to do that, excuse me, and microchip them.
Thank you. And that's for the safety of them too, because guess what a coyote's favorite Scooby snack is?
Cats.
Your cat.
Yeah. I love though that you mentioned the bell, because most people would assume that putting a bell on your cat is so you can hear them. But it's so the things that they're preying upon know that they're coming.
Fighting chance. Exactly.
And the breakaway collar, that's important because cats love to strangle themselves on branches when they're climbing through bushes and shrubs trying to get to said birds. And if they were to get caught,
it just breaks off.
It snaps off. Otherwise, it could be your cat's neck or they get choked.
Right. And I'm going to tell you, people, don't believe me when I say this, but I have literally dealt with cases as an animal control officer where people's little dogs have been carted away by those lovely hawks. Now, this is illegal, but let me tell you, a hawk can take your little baby corgi right out of the yard.
Cats, small dogs.
So it's just keep an eye on your small pets. Don't leave them unattended. I do not trust electric invisible fencing because it doesn't stop a pack of coyotes coming in your yard. And
Not at all.
I have people who've literally let their little dog out the back just to pee, and they turn around and it's
gone. Well, and then also electric fences, if an animal is scared out of their yard, they won't come back because they're going to get shocked on the way back in. And so
these are the things, like, we want our modern communities, but we are participating in the demise of wildlife just by having our dogs and cats outside. So, and like I have 3 large dogs. They need to run. I want them to run. But understand, if you take your dogs off leash and go in the woods in the spring and you harass a mother bear, guess who's going to win that fight? And guess who's going to get shot, because then you've called the DEEP because a bear has scratched at your dog. Yeah. They're going to come out and they're going to shoot that bear. That's the bottom line. And we all know that case of the woman, who got death threats, talking to death threats. She posted these cute little baby cubs that tugged on her pant legs when she was hiking, and she posted that. The DEP came out and euthanized those babies. Why? Because if a baby bear is willing to approach you as a baby, it's going to approach you as an adult. So they were terrified that was now an imprinted bear cub. So please be mindful of your interaction with wildlife.
Yeah.
They're not your pets.
Yeah. You are not Snow White.
Right.
And unfortunately, there's way too many people who are feeding animals. I dream about being that, but I also don't want a whole slew of wild animals knocking on my door.
Love them. Do sing to them as Snow White. Respect them and love them and let them be your friends and your allies. But understand.
But don't try to be like their overlord.
Thank you. Don't turn them into dogs and cats.
Yes. Don't try to domesticate
them.
them.
Shouldn't be. But also protect your dogs and cats. And these are some ways. Gosh, I wish we could ask the audience if they had questions. I feel like.
Well, I know a lot of the good ones, but talking about like when you potentially do bring in some wild animals. Another crazy story about a squirrel. So I had a client who had a baby squirrel fall out of a tree in his yard, and his dog grabbed it for a split second, and then he called me and was like, "Oh my gosh, what do I do?" And I'm like, "Does he seem okay?" He's like, "Yeah, he's moving around, nothing's broken." I was like, "Just leave him be." And he was like, "No, I need to save this creature." And I was like, all right, if you're going to do this, his girlfriend was a vet tech. So I said, put it in a carrier overnight. And if it's fine in the morning, let it go. Well, he didn't let it go. And then a couple of months later, the idiot is posting a picture of him with the squirrel indoors on his shoulder. And I called him up. I was like, "Did you keep that freaking squirrel?" And he sure did. And then, so he fell out of the nest and he took it in the late spring, early summer. Kept it all through the summer and into the fall. Then the thing grew some massive testicles and then had testosterone raging through its system. So then it wanted to mate and it wanted to forage and it wanted to nest and prepare for the winter. But he was trapped in somebody's house, so he started eating all of his crown molding.
Well, they're rodents, and they must continue to chew because their teeth do not stop growing. And yes, the testosterone, you've denied that animal the ability to be a squirrel and to find a mate.
This is the most egregious, these people. So it started destroying their house so much. Do you want to know what they wanted to do after quote unquote rescuing this squirrel month? So they wanted to let it go in November, going into the winter when it had no family,
And
no nest,
understanding on how
no
to build a
stores,
nest and-
no
right.
no life skills whatsoever. They
Nothing to
might as
sleep
well
with.
have just stomped on it the second they found it in the spring. That would have been better off because now you essentially tortured and domesticated this thing.
Right.
But you cared
and-
so much, then
right.
you're just going to release it. And unfortunately, I got involved, and then it had to go to a wildlife rehabber.
Well, that's fortunate. But here,
Yeah,
and
but it was ugly.
And here is what you do if you find a baby squirrel at the bottom of a tree and you hear that mother screaming, screaming.
And they're chatter.
So,
It's obvious.
Keep your dogs in, keep your cats in. Get a plastic water bottle, fill it with very warm water, wrap it in a light towel, and a shallow box. We're not talking.
One they can climb out of.
Yeah, we're not talking this size box. We're talking like how sodas come in a little tray, like
Yeah.
a couple inches. Place that little baby next to the warm water bottle. I like to step at least 25 feet away and I start playing baby cries on YouTube. I've seen with my own eyes.
I haven't done that, but that's cool.
With my own eyes, I've seen that mama, because it cues the mama, and she realizes, oh, my baby's down there crying, even if it's not her baby crying, because sometimes they're so traumatized they're not going to cry, and it's the middle. They will come down and they will take that baby back. As long as there's no blood and there's no obvious breaks, let the mama have an opportunity. If it's dark and that baby is still at the bottom of the tree, then you've got to bring that baby in, and you're going to get yourself puppy milk replacement, because a baby squirrel will eat through the night. And YouTube how to feed a baby squirrel, or get a rehabber. Please get a rehabber.
And don't keep it. What is it, 72 hours? If you take in a wild animal, isn't there a time period that you're supposed to turn them over?
I don't really know.
I was under the impression, we'll have to Google this and follow up with it, but if you bring in a wild animal, you're supposed to find appropriate resources. Otherwise, you're considering you're keeping
I
it
see.
if it's more than
like,
72
hoarding it.
hours.
And I can guarantee you, if you've kept it 72 hours, you probably haven't.
You might have
known
killed it already.
How to feed it properly.
Yeah.
And you never feed a cold animal. So there's all these things. Always your number one thing. Warm, quiet, warm, quiet, warm, quiet. One more thing. If you see a raccoon in the day, it does not mean it has rabies.
No.
Raccoons are diurnal. I get a lot of calls. Oh my gosh, there's a raccoon out in the day. It's got to be sick. No, raccoons eat during the day and at night. They're diurnal. Just
And not
like
to
us.
mention, there's other things that make an animal be perceived as neurologic. But because this is a rabies endemic state, that means we have to, when you see somebody who's acting weird, the number one differential or possible diagnosis that you must consider is always rabies, number one. But raccoons also get distemper virus, which makes them act really neurologic. Also, in the fall, when we have fermenting apples and pumpkins, animals get hammered.
Yes,
Absolutely wasted.
They do.
Deer, squirrels.
You
I've
are
seen it.
right.
I've seen a bear when I first moved to
Crows.
Colorado.
Crows
Oh
get
yeah,
drunk.
hammered.
There is no cage big enough, and it's insidious to think. We have to understand where parrots come from. Even a hand raised parrot. You think you're not participating in the demise of a species, but a hand raised parrot is an insane bird by the time they're 8 years old. Most parrots are forfeited at the age of 8 because that's when they become sexually mature, just like the squirrel with the nuts.
Yeah.
And so people their whole lives they hand raise a bird, and what are they doing? They're stroking it. They're stroking it. You're literally telling that bird, "I'm your lover.
It's a mating behavior.
I am your partner." So
Preening.
it starts going insane by the time it's 8 years old, because they're like, "Why aren't you mating with me?"
Yeah.
And they start biting their owners. So most owners are like, "I can't handle this," and they get rid of their birds. So I've volunteered in multiple bird organizations, and a fabulous one right now. I go and just sing to the birds. Is in Deep River. It's pandemonium. Ace of a woman. She created a thrift store cafe to bring awareness to the plight of the birds in the bird industry, and she adopts and she helps out these birds and gives them forever homes. There's legacy birds that will never be adopted, and there are birds that need homes. I really recommend going and checking this place out, even if it's just a thrift, because then you're helping her help them. But it is insidious that you can buy a bird, and if you also want to be a warrior for these animals, and you don't have the time to get permits and deal with rehabbing them, just don't buy them.
Yeah.
Just don't buy them.
Yeah, a lot of birds are available for adoption because people either pass on and they're still alive, or they don't take care of them. They become more aggressive about their mating behavior. I don't know what it is about humans that feel the need to have things that are exotic in their possession. But, we talked about pet stores. I mean, I don't think people should have a lot of things for pets. I mean, I see so many reptiles that are just, once the novelty wears off, the snake is a skeleton. Leopard geckos that are just rotting in cages, hamsters and guinea pigs and mice and rats. Like,
chameleons.
People get these animals to practice on responsibility and adulting with their kids, and I just think it's terrible. And
Thank you.
I knew somebody who had a parrot, and the thing just lived in a cage that was covered all the time. He
That's
completely
so
neglected it, literally jailed the thing, and
That's
then it
so
just
wrong.
died.
It's,
and I was like,
oh, thank God.
died very exactly,
Right.
but it died prematurely.
And,
It was
yeah.
probably sick, and it was neglected.
Some of
I
the
don't
most
understand.
tortured animals that I sing to at Pandemonium came out of millionaires' homes.
Oh, yeah.
Millionaire mansions where they
was
were
a
just left at the
possession.
bottom of a hallway.
They can brag about it. Look at
and
this
never
fancy
once
bird.
was the cage opened, and they're traumatized. These are living sentient beings, and I mean everything, snakes included.
Yep.
Everything alive is a sentient being. And just ask yourself, how would you, it is that live and let live, and how would you like to be treated? So this is what I try to impart to the kids. This is what I try to impart to the young and old at heart. Like, take a moment to listen. Take a moment to really connect, because I can guarantee you, if you open yourself to the vast world of what is wild, you're going to touch upon the wild in you that you didn't even know existed, and you're going to start learning to listen to yourself too.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me, Leah.
Oh, thank you. As we're wrapping up, there's just a couple of take-home points we want to make sure everybody understands. So first and foremost, if you are not a wildlife rehabilitator and you decide that you want to help out when you find an injured or orphaned animal, the first thing you do after it's safe and secure is you contact the appropriate authorities, which is a wildlife rehabilitator. Go through your local DEP, call your local police barracks. If you don't know who to contact, there's resources online. And also Facebook chatter groups are amazing.
Yep.
They
Fantastic.
connect people who need to be connected in the world of rehab and rescue. So
Great point. Connecticut Wildlife Rehabilitators Association is an actual page
Yep.
on Facebook. Connecticut Wildlife Rehab. There's a lot of wildlife pages on Facebook. Very good point.
Yeah. And one thing that was really disappointing the day that I rescued that owl were the volume of people who drove by. But then I got so much reaction. People loved this bird. They loved the story. They were so intrigued by it. And it made me wonder how many of those people who were following me and showing interest were potentially somebody that drove by that day. It was really inconvenient. I was coming home from an emergency euthanasia. I had things to do and places to go. I made a choice to stop and help that bird. And then that was a huge commitment. I followed up with
Right.
it, and
And it doesn't take yes,
But it was
But
worthwhile.
but it doesn't take so much effort to just slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
Like we really
Protect it.
we all can just, like, this is why I arm everybody with that list of 10 things, and we discussed most of them in this fabulous
Yeah.
last 45 minutes. Is like, we really can do very simple things to make big differences and changes. Whether it's just refusing to poison animals in your
Yes,
yard
be
with
conscientious
rodenticides,
about your herbicides,
slowing down,
pesticides,
and
baits.
just having a few little basics of knowledge in a pair of gloves in a box in your car, bada bing, bada boom, you've really actually upped your game by 50% right there.
Yeah, and for the record, as somebody who keeps getting phone calls every time a wild or orphaned injured animal is found anywhere in the state of Connecticut, that's not my jam. That's not what I do. I am.
Oh, they're gonna
Your
keep coming.
veterinarian is not the first person that you should be calling when you find an injured animal. I am not in charge of every living species in the state of Connecticut or elsewhere.
Really?
Yeah. I wish I had more time, but yeah. So since that owl, I've had multiple people reach out to me with injured birds, and I'm like,
That's the law of contagion.
yeah, I as much as I want to help, I am not the right resource, and sometimes we're just wasting time contacting the wrong folks. So make sure that you are contacting a wildlife rehabilitator. I am not. You likely are.
Or a
not.
nature
Your
center.
veterinarian
Na-
likely
and
isn't.
nature centers will have a list of people who
Yes.
can help you if they are full.
Yep.
So,
So be conscientious about what you're doing. Don't.
God is speed.
Yeah, don't dump your garbage in the
Don't
environment. Be careful about what you're using as far as pesticides, herbicides, rodenticides. Can't drive that point home enough. If you care
Don't
about
use
wild
them.
animals, we have to take care of the environment.
Peace and bless.
Hey folks, Dr. Leah here. Thanks for watching my podcast, Vet It Out. For more content about everything animal, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to have the latest updates.